people can take the oil and leave us alone. Britain can suck the oil as long as they like, but leave us alone. We need our freedom. Release our leader. He's the only one fighting for us. He's the only one fighting for our freedom. So why is everyone keeping quiet?
The Tory road to nowhere. But you'll be happy to know the Starver Kid for a quid fringe meeting is in that direction. You're going the right way.
So what brings you here to Manchester?
The Tory conference. They're all here in their own little bubble. And it is a bubble because we can't get in there.
Why can't we get in there?
There's a ring of steel around it.
Why is there so much security and fencing around the building?
Nobody loves a Tory. Look, Brexit's never going to work no matter who's at the helm. And the sooner they realise that, we can get back into some kind of customs union, single market, put the country back on its feet, say goodbye to this corrupt bunch of charlatans in office.
How long have you been protesting Brexit for?
Oh gosh, well, it started around the time prior to the referendum when it was announced. It all started off as online, arguing with friends, and so we are now in the fifth, more than 5 years. We'll never get the same deal we had, unfortunately, and we're all paying the price for it now. And they're taking us down this path, this walk into fascism.
By the way, you lost.
We all lost. Some people are too stupid to realise.
No, he lost Brexit. He kept shouting outside Parliament all the time, stop Brexit, and he got beat. And we've now had Brexit, which is great. Thank you.
And may I ask what advantages to come from Brexit? Any, sir?
Loads.
Please give me one at least. I will.
Loads.
Your name, sir? Would you say fuck the Tories?
I wouldn't go that far. They're not that pretty.
Excuse me, guys. If you could fuck a Tory, which Tory would it be? Any?
I know where this is going. I'm not falling for your trap.
So
I think that's a good question for her. Yeah, she is a fucking one. I'm a staunch Tory, and I think if I had to fuck a Tory, it would probably be. Let's have a think. Do you know Lauren Southern?
Hello, it's Lauren Southern here with Rebel, and I just got in a huge confrontation with the Slut Walk, which we are following right now. Essentially, I held a sign that said, "We are not living in a rape culture in the West."
Oh, she's an American one. She's quite good, quite fit, so I reckon I would go for that. I'd get a good bit of the action there. So, yeah, it'd be quite nice, but I've got to find my friend, so nice meeting you.
Sir, if you could fuck a Tory, which Tory would it be? Any?
I wish I was racist.
I'm saying that the Labour Party are full of paedophiles, yeah.
Where did you find the evidence?
Online.
So, what brings you here today?
Frustration, mainly frustration. I get very frustrated and very angry, but I don't quite know how to direct that anger. Food shortages, Again, inequality's rising. It's going to continue to rise under Tory rule. You know, wages have remained stagnant. It's just appalling. It's appalling.
I'm personally here today to protest the Tory party, especially the current police crime and sentencing bill, which is kind of like, you know, tormenting and restricting the right of Gypsy, Roma, traveller people across the UK.
You can have your opinion, everyone's entitled to theirs. Whether I believe it's right or wrong doesn't matter, opinion's an opinion. Why is Boris Johnson up here when he doesn't understand what the north of the country's gone through?
The conference. Come to support the local community so we can make the north, you know, feel as confident as they can in this party. It's just been lacking support, frankly, for quite a while. So it's just a case of building confidence in the voters, getting our electorate back.
From a city like Liverpool, that was, before him, was detrimentally put down by Thatcher, was left, in her words, to rot, was an area that she was happy to let become nothing because they had disagreed with her political opinion. Same with Manchester now. Why should we be told by an area that has never ever sided with us, has never took our opinion in any, not even just in the smallest of, they've got a valid opinion here, they've always ignored it. Why should we let that influence us?
Yes, Tories are, but to be replaced by what? To be replaced by a racist, imperialist Labour Party? I don't think so. The Labour Party, for decades, for the last century, has been crushing the working class into nothing.
Intended to be a reliable second 11 for capitalism, not the voice of millions who want to see a fairer, more equal society. Any politician, particularly a Labour politician, who says they don't support the nationalisation of the big utilities, such as gas and water, is betraying every single worker in this country.
It's particularly important because what's happened to the Labour Party in the last 4 years, where the establishment lost control of the Labour Party. And I've never known a period in my life where the right wing of the Labour Party has been so hostile to the left, more hostile to progressive people, to socialists, than they are to the Conservatives.
Keir Starmer, he promised to get Brexit, promised to work through Brexit. For his next trick, he's going to turn water into wine.
And it won't happen if you've got politicians saying, oh, we'll balance the books and all that. It doesn't mean a thing. The Tories have had to borrow $390 billion because of COVID.
Fastest vaccine rollout, I think we're definitely getting back on track.
The way they handled that, look, I'll just say one sentence. We got the highest per capita death toll in the world. That says it all.
Why would you decide to have your political party conference in a city that, along with Liverpool, where I'm from, Newcastle, is notoriously the most Labour stronghold in the country?
Because I grew up in Derbyshire, Tory stronghold, was around a lot of them. Very different environment to here, like casual racism, homophobia. It was just part of growing up in school, I guess, and it was normal until I came here. It caused me to go into hospital. Like I got psychosis and just couldn't process how different it was. They have no fundamental understanding of what mental health is. They just think if you work hard, you're happy, and that's just not fucking true.
We need so much fundamental change in so many areas like education, health, social care.
And we now have the new national insurance tax, and it's not enough. There will be more tax hikes. They need to raise far more money. Brexit was always going to be higher taxes and cuts.
I think the pandemic has raised many economical problems for the country, regardless. I think there's always going to be things like, tax will have to cover these issues, bring the party back on track. So I just think it's tension around that.
I'm a Labour supporter generally, but I still disagree with their point. I don't think university should be free. I pay to go to university and I've got no problem with that because I believe the degree I picked will pay out in the end for me to be worth to do that. But when you have then a Labour Party who disagrees with that, but the opposite is a Conservative Party who say that children who are hungry at home when they go home and I shouldn't be fed free school dinners, what's my political choice?
The policies that Corbyn had were so popular. They really were. And what happened is at the Brexit election, where Labour had a very confused policy, and I'm not saying Corbyn made mistakes and there were, of course he would, he's a very experienced leader. He wasn't perfect, but the fact is, it was looking for a fundamental change in society. And I, obviously, as an actor, I work in the arts, I see lots of young people coming into our industry, and Corbyn was somebody who spoke about the importance of the arts.
What's the biggest challenge that the Labour Party faces now?
Making sure that it has a policy, an economic strategy and a social policy that challenges wealth and power in Britain, that opposes austerity economics, which is creating the poverty we have. We now live in a country with more food banks than there are branches of McDonald's. That is how far inequality and injustice has gone in this country. And on the global stage, don't demonise refugees, don't laud the wars of the past. The refugees are the victims of the wars of the past. So we don't need to join in a nuclear alliance with Australia and the United States. What we need is to look for a more peaceful world and say the most important thing is economic equality and social justice in Britain, dealing with the environment crisis around the world, not threatening people's jobs, but creating a green industrial revolution. And above all, inspire and work with people. Inspire young people, inspire communities. And when our communities are strong, we're strong.
I just want to ask you, you supported People's Vote and Tony Blair, who destroyed my country to build democracy, but he doesn't want to do it at home. So why you don't want to do democracy at home?
Excuse me, am I here supporting Tony Blair? I don't think so.
You support second referendum, which is so
look, you assume what you like, mate. I don't support Tony Blair.
Okay, but
you
supported democracy to be implemented in Iraq, but you don't support democracy to be implemented here.
Look.
What type of hypocrites that makes him?
Hang on a minute. Why are you bringing Tory Blair?
I didn't know. Tory.
Yeah. We don't like these people.
Tony Blair is paying for you.
Who has? Tony Blair? Who told you that?
Well, I have
come off it.
Yes.
You read fake news, mate.
Really?
Yes.
You are the fake news here.
Right, off you go then.
Steve, who's paying you?
Who is real news?
Well, the real news, I think, is GB News. Well, I told you I'm not a British. I did not vote for Brexit.
Who's paying you?
Well, no one. I'm paying myself.
Who's paying you, Steve?
And what brings you here today?
I'm a pedo. How am I a pedo, mate? I've spoken at rallies which have allowed survivors of child abuse to. You like that?
This guy, he's saving the fucking world.
What are you doing?
Yeah, because my children have been abused by Wirral Council, and I've started investigating the Labour Party, and I've realised that when they fact check me and remove my Facebook, I'm getting my Facebook removed all the time because they're picking on me. But I found that there's 300 parliaments on the sex offenders register.
Well, if you've got Billy's contact, tell him you've spoken to Jack from Turning Point, and he'll connect us up, and then we can.
Turning Point. This guy's Turning Point.
Mate, I own Turning Point.
He owns Turning
Point. What a cunt! So we're trying to get a petition done at the moment, which is aiming to increase the. We're trying to get to increase sentences for all child offenders. If you put every paedophile in prison for at least 25 years, the cases of child abuse are going to go down.
I like you. What's your name? Jack Ross. I like you.
Thank you very much.
So do you go in?
That's not what you want. Most people who abuse kids have been abused themselves. They need therapy and shit.
I'm very worried because for the last 10 years I've been reporting child abuse. I was actually historically abused by my ex-partner. I was 15 when I met him. He was actually 25. Within the first month of me meeting him, he then actually turned 26, I lost that baby. I didn't realise that I was being abused. And then when I got...
2 seconds. Two secs, just 1 sec. Mind if I just speak to her for a quick second, and then please carry on. Is that cool? Thank you. Right. Where were we? Right. So
19 years later, I leave my abusive ex-partner. In the way that I ended up leaving him was because my house got sold. From me leaving him, I knew that I had 4 children with him, and I knew he'd try and hide my children from me, which he then successfully did with the help of all the authorities. 6 years I've enjoyed the family courts where I've nearly committed suicide during that process because it has been that horrific. The process should have actually only took 26 weeks, but it didn't take 26 weeks. I'm still in it 6 years on, and because they should have intervened in the...
It's $1,000 a day. How much you getting for today, bro?
Dude, just trying to do an interview. 2 secs.
Go on, put your music back on, because it's better than listening to you.
2 secs.
Tories out! Tories out! Tories out! Tories out! Tories out!
Well, basically, last year in July, my kid's mum committed suicide. She went into the family courts. They should have protected her. She was held up at knife point by a boyfriend at the time. They took her kids off her. They should have protected her, really, and they didn't. And she went to court. She said to the judge, if you take my kids off me, I'll just end my life. Nobody listened. She went home that day and hung herself. My 11-year-old son found her the next day. Social services have since been charged 33.2 million in fines.
Who is to blame?
Well, the social services, they're taking kids off people for money. Every kid that they put into care, they get 35 grand for. So because she has 5 children, her kids to them are worth over 140 grand.
And who's funding them?
Well, it comes from the government. I think they've got a big part to play in it. Boris isn't listening. The only thing he's helping is his pocket, and that's blatantly apparent. If he was out here for children and children's rights and to stop people from taking kids off vulnerable parents, he'd be doing something about it. It'd be mentioned in the news, but it never is. I understand they hate Boris, but they're getting paid to stand there. That's why they're doing this, because they're government puppets. Boris is paying them to stand there, so they've got something on the news to say, oh, there was protesters there. Oh.
Are you sure about that?
We're stood here, supposed to be fighting for the same cause, to get Boris out and for him to do something about children. Why is he then overshowering us and not letting us have a chance to speak? Do you know what I mean? He's calling us charlatans. He told me that I should go on the dole, that I don't know what his job is. He hasn't got a clue who I am or what I do. Do you know what I mean? So he shouldn't be making presumptions like that about me.
Do you think class comes into it at any point?
I don't at all. No, absolutely not. No.
No.
How come?
What class am I?
I don't know, sir. What would you say?
No. You tell me, what class am I?
I'm from a very working class background. I think the class divide is very much blurred out, especially the last few decades. Family influence and stuff on various things does run strong. My family were mainly Labour voters, but I looked into the party, I saw it was the best thing for me in my future, and it could be for a lot of other young people.
When people come at a debate or an argument with the preconception of that person is a different class from me, they're going to be different, I'm going to treat them different to one of my own, you're going to have that divide.
At the end of the day, I've stood there and I'm fighting up children's rights and I'm trying to get a voice for my kid's mum who hasn't got one anymore.
What makes you think he's being funded?
Gut feeling. You can see every time we go to different protests, protests all over the country, you know who the paid ones are, because they're allowed to stand right there. None of these police have said a word to them all day.
But you know, Turning Point, the organisation is very fucked up.
Why?
Very fucked up.
So's your organisation, whatever.
You don't know what organisation I'm part of.
It's there of it, you know what I mean? Why are you hiding your face and all that?
Because the police have facial recognition technology.
So what? So what?
So I don't want them to know what my face is.
You lie and cheat or you do crime. No, you don't. So why hide your face?
Because I don't want the police to know my identity.
Oh.
Why don't you want the police to know you're dead? I put my face out here because I'm confident in my views.
Yeah,
I support
same here.
democracy.
Oh, because I'm a Tory.
Yes, your views are the ones that the police uphold.
I will give. I don't know. I don't really like Boris, but I will give him a little bit of credit where it's due because he has done a few things that I do like. Do you know?
Sorry.
I know. I think he might be working with President Trump. I might be wrong, and there might be a big plan to get rid of all these people. But I might be wrong. on that.
Small fringe meeting, roommates.
Shut up, you twat!
Far right.
Talk about something that matters.
Excuse me. This is a democracy. On your bike.
I think we should abolish the police.
Don't take this moment as a moment of voyeurism. This is what the reality is for Gypsy and Traveller people. When we speak out, we get shoved sideways. It's not a moment for cameras. We find it funny to see our trauma. It's shit. Everyone gets their cameras out. All these people come over us. They're all gorgeous people, all the same. I'm paying as a Gypsy person. It's not your fun time. And I think that within like a lot of left spaces, there's a lot of things where there's a lot of people who are very privileged who get to take over conversations and make everything about charisma politics, get a little moment of getting it in at the other side.
If you believe in something, then you need to get up, participate, vote, get involved, run for election possibly if you believe in it that much. At the end of the day, we've got our beliefs. The people over there protesting have their beliefs. We disagree passionately. Unfortunately, some people on both sides, I would personally say mainly on the other side, decide to take those disagreements to be at a personal level.
These spaces are often like the only spaces that we have to like actually say something important and of use, and it's never the people that are actually going through stuff who actually get to hold power in those spaces. It's all too busy like narking at whoever's walking past in a Tory suit. And it's like at the end of the day, the actual austerity that's being put forward isn't just a laugh and a joke where we can like quantify it down to just giggles and laughs. Like what I see every day on the streets are people emaciated from drugs due to austerity making their coping mechanism shit. Because at the moment all I see is just a bunch of like, you know, white gorge men talking about something that is very fruitious above when you've got people literally dying on the ground.
Well, I don't recognise that there's a divide. There are people who will always come to Conservative Party conference and bang on about wanting to rejoin the EU and bang on about inequalities that actually don't exist in the way that they are trying to portray.
At the end of the day, when it comes to me being between an armed tactical aid unit police vehicle and a site in Manchester, it's only me and my mate there. I don't see any of these lot down there, a lot of middle class people there. I see nothing. It's being on dole and having it like taken off you. It's not having enough food for your kids. It's dying early. It's homeless people that I see in Manchester who are severely disabled, hoisting themselves by the one foot that they have and told they have to wait 3 weeks for housing in the freezing cold.
I'll talk to Brexit Steve out there who wants us to rejoin the European Union. The country has spoken and that's the way it needs to be. We need to respect democracy, don't we?
Absolutely.
That's the reality of all this. So when you see those people walking in the nice shiny shoes and their suits, it isn't just that. That mentality is leading to actual devastation for people. And even if you don't see it, it's happening. And if you don't see it, that's a privilege. Because you'd want to close the curtains real quick.
Seriously, mate.
Mate, why don't you campaign for something that actually helps people?
Sorry, look.
Like anti-racism, something.
Look, walking around like it's Halloween, what are you achieving?
I'm concealing my identity, mate. Every fucking
You're concealing your identity.
Yeah, have you not heard of the spy cops thing?
Yeah,
Do you not, why would you want to fuck with the police then? I don't want the police to know who I am.
If you don't want to know who you are, the police know who you are, why are you even here?
Because I'm out protesting.
Protesting what?
The Tory party conference.
So am I!
Why is there so much of a divide in people?
We're here. All of those people here don't like the Tories. Yet none of us can really agree because there's just so much at work in like the media and all different spheres of politics, like identity politics, race, gender.
Well, look, this is what the government want.
And the Labour Party and just the state and the media system in itself is really good at pitting people against each other so that no one can come together and actually do anything.
They want to divide us. They want division because it keeps them in power.
Why don't you ask him where he gets his funds from to do that? He should go and get a job.
At the end of the day, they've got their beliefs and they're allowed to portray that in a free society. Ultimately, if we didn't have the country that we were, they wouldn't be allowed to do that right now. The government is in that building right there, and there are people out there that disagree with them. You telling me that that isn't the best way of being able to run a country?
Because we were all able to come together and agree, right, okay, these guys are cunts, like the system of government clearly doesn't work, let's like rise up and overthrow it.
Of course, if we're not concentrating on fighting them and just fighting each other, how are we going to protest?
Protesters in the UK right now, it's a bit of a mess, you know.
How are we going to get them out of power?
The more bad shit that happens, which sucks, the more bad shit that happens is kind of really like the only way that I see us coming together more.
It doesn't need to be like that. We've got a free and open democracy. You go to the ballot box, you make your choices, and then you get to decide again in 4 or 5 years' time.
And to be fair to Brexit Steve, he did stand for election.
And he lost.
And he lost very badly. He came bottom of the pile.
I mean, we're here protesting against the Tories. I couldn't understand why they weren't either.
Do you not think they're protesting against the Tories?
Well, no, they were saying, why are you supporting the European Union?
Go and moan about this bullshit. Like, we've left the EU. It sucks. Like, there are food shortages and stuff. But the EU is also shit and really, really problematic and does loads of bad stuff like imposing austerity and being a massive European neoliberal bloc.
Yeah. You've got anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers. We're not anti-mask, we're not anti-vax.
There's some people over there shouting about like paedophilia in the EU. I don't know loads about that. Like, I was originally pro-EU when I was like 16, but I can't be arsed with that. It's just a load of middle-class bullshit.
But we can't support them on their things like that, but we can on being against the Tories.
Like when activists come along and I'm actually serious about, you know, not letting the police find my identity because I actually want to like cause some disruption or make some change, like then people are going to get mad and be like, what are you doing? Why aren't you standing here with an EU hat? It's like, because I don't want to look like a twat.
So how do we all unite?
That's the $1 million question.
Connect with our local communities. There's so many political groups and they get scared about actually going on council estates or talking to the local people.
I think the vast majority of the country are probably feeling that that we've done our best in a very difficult situation. COVID is something that nobody had written a rule book about before. No one's got a crystal ball. And any government, whether it's this one or another one, will perhaps make mistakes along the way, and we'll hold our hands up. But, we've saved people's livelihoods, we've saved businesses, we've put our arms around the country, we've done our best.
Checking if everything's okay with the council, with their sites, checking with your ethnic minority community if everything's okay. There's racism going on left, right and centre, and there's so many bystanders that just stand there, then they go log on Twitter and they're going on about, anti-fascism stuff, but they don't bother doing anything when they're actually out in the street.
We need independent media that informs, challenges and empowers people. And what Maxine was saying about the way in which dramas are presented, particularly on BBC, but others. I mean, how many young people have been brought up thinking the sort of Jolly Japes history of Britain from 1910 to 1960 was sort of somewhere around Downton Abbey, and it was all Jolly Japes of what was going on upstairs, and they were having big dinners together, and they hardly mentioned the downstairs dozens and dozens of people in appalling conditions working very hard for damn all money. The cultural effect of the way in which drama is presented is absolutely massive, and never underestimate that people's view of history becomes some sort of fairly banal costume drama on television, and they think
Check my tax record.
Oh,
You're a liar.
You're a parasite.
You're a liar, a cheat, and a charlatan. Lee Anderson,
get a job.
You are worse than Tory scum.
And Tory accountability.
The 5G control grid, which damages human cells and which controls human activity and which
Watch Real News. Watch Real News.
tonight you're watching Real News.
And watch it again.